At this moment in time, okay, you're under arrest on suspicion of breach of a serious crime prevention order. Okay, so you do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention, when questioned, something which will lay relying in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence, alright? The grounds for this arrest are, since you're released from prison back in the last year, you've been subject to a serious crime prevention order, which obviously has certain restrictions and stuff like that on you. Obviously, as part of that National Crime Agency investigation, we've identified that you've breached that order on a number of occasions, alright? So, this arrest is necessary for a proper and effective investigation, and obviously prevent the loss and damage of evidence, alright?
A body was found in a Dubai hotel room, and within hours, the internet made up its mind. Tributes flooded in, forums lit up. People who had followed this man's story for years, who had read the books, watched the documentaries, were convinced it was finally over. Curtis Warren was dead.
Welcome back to True Crime Page, where we don't just tell crime stories, we dismantle the myths around them. Tonight, we're stepping into a case that refuses to end. A story that keeps resurfacing, not because of a body, but because of money that never disappeared. This is the story of Curtis Warren, a man who rose from a Liverpool council estate to become one of the most powerful drug traffickers on the planet. A man who outwitted border security, embarrassed British courts, and earned the trust of the world's most feared cartel. If you're new here, and you're drawn to true crime stories that don't end neatly, that expose how power really works behind the scenes, subscribe, turn on notifications, and join a community that digs where the official record stops. To understand Curtis Warren, you first have to understand the world he was born into. Liverpool, 1960s. A city that had once been the beating heart of British trade in neighborhoods like Toxteth. Street crime wasn't unusual. For a lot of kids, petty theft wasn't a moral failing. It was survival. Curtis Warren was one of those kids. By 12, stealing cars, not joyriding, stealing to order. At 15, a borstal, which rather than deterring him, simply introduced him to a more sophisticated criminal network. He came out sharper than he went in. By his late teens, armed robbery, later sentenced for 5 years. And this is the moment that separates Warren from every other young man in Liverpool making the same mistakes. Because even then, even facing a 5-year sentence, people noticed something different. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't chaotic. Always watching. Filing away information about how things worked, who had power, and why. When he came out, he took a job as a bouncer at a Liverpool nightclub. Warren wasn't there for the wage. He was studying a new industry from the inside. Who was moving product, how transactions worked, who the dealers answered to, and how much money was flowing. He was building relationships, learning who to trust, learning who to avoid. Most people looked at Liverpool's docks and saw decline. Curtis Warren looked at them and saw opportunity, and he was about to use them to build an empire. Every criminal faces a crossroads. For Curtis Warren, that crossroads had a name, Brian Charrington. On the surface, a car dealer from Middlesbrough, successful, flashy, the kind of man who wore his money loudly. But underneath, Charrington had something far more valuable. Connections, deep, dangerous, international, stretching all the way to the Cali Cartel in Colombia. At the time, the most powerful drug trafficking organization on the planet, not the Medellin cartel's chaos. The Cali operation was different, corporate, disciplined, ruthless in a quieter, more permanent way, and they were looking for distribution partners in Europe. Warren had a port access, the operational intelligence. Charrington had the cartel relationships. Together, they were exactly what each other needed. So in 1991, they flew to Venezuela to sit across a table from some of the most dangerous men on the planet and negotiate a deal. The Cali Cartel said yes. Now comes the part that, even now, is genuinely difficult to believe. The method they devised was not crude. This was engineering. Cocaine concealed inside steel boxes, hidden within lead ingots, heavy industrial metal, the kind of cargo that moves through ports every single day without a second glance. The first load made it through, completely undetected, 87 million pounds worth of cocaine, through British customs, undetected, because two men from the north of England had
Outsmarted every layer of border security the United Kingdom had. For Warren, this wasn't just a score. It was confirmation that his instincts were right, that his methods worked, that the authorities, for all their resources, were thinking conventionally, while he was on a completely different level. But then came 1992, a second shipment, 907 kilograms of cocaine. And this time, something went wrong. Intercepted. Arrests followed. After everything, it looked like it was over, except 1993, trial underway, and then a bombshell nobody saw coming. Brian Charrington, Warren's partner, the man who flew to Venezuela with him, who sat across from cartel bosses, who helped build the entire operation, was a police informant working for the Northeast Regional Crime Squad the entire time. The case collapsed instantly. The whole thing unraveled in real time, and the judge had no choice. Curtis Warren walked out, a free man. And here, right here, is where you see exactly who Curtis Warren is. Most people would have kept their head down, quietly disappeared. Warren reportedly looked at the detectives who had spent years trying to put him away and taunted them openly. After the acquittal, Warren knew the game had changed. Staying free meant staying ahead of the scrutiny, the rival threats, the attention that comes with walking out of an 87 million pound cocaine trial. So he made a decision. He left Britain. By 1995, Curtis Warren was in Sassenheim, a quiet town in the Netherlands. To the neighbors, just another foreign resident. Unremarkable, nothing to look at twice. But Sassenheim was not a retreat. It was a headquarters. And from that base, Warren built something that made the lead ingot operation look modest. The assets alone are almost absurd. Casinos in Spain, discos in Turkey, a vineyard in Bulgaria, land in Gambia, Swiss bank accounts investigators would spend years trying to trace. A financial portfolio so deliberately scattered across so many jurisdictions. The unpicking was like trying to catch smoke with your hands. This wasn't a criminal hiding money. This was a criminal deploying money. Warren understood something most traffickers never grasp. The money is only useful if it survives you. And the operation feeding all of it, multi-product, multi-route, cocaine from South America, cannabis from Turkey and Eastern Europe, heroin, ecstasy, not one.
Pipeline. A diversified operation, run with the discipline most legitimate businesses would envy. One method in particular captures Warren's thinking perfectly. Cocaine, suspended in wine, Bulgarian wine, shipped to the Netherlands, then onward to Liverpool. The cocaine wasn't hidden alongside the wine. It was suspended within it, chemically, designed to be extracted at the destination, turning one of the most scrutinized substances on the planet into something that looked, to every scanner, every officer, like an ordinary commercial shipment. And coordinating all of it was a man who kept none of it written down. Not a single note, not a single record. All of it stored internally. Code words in every communication. His circled tight and compartmentalized. Even people inside the operation often didn't know the full picture. And the Cali Cartel, after watching him perform for years, gave him something almost unheard of. Unlimited credit. The most powerful trafficking organization in the world
trusted Warren so completely that they financed his operation on faith alone. That is not fear. That is a track record of excellence. Then, 1998. Something happened that feels almost like a dark joke. The Sunday Times rich list. Britain's wealthiest individuals, bankers, businessmen, royals. And quietly, a listing for a property developer worth £40 million. That property developer was Curtis Warren. When the Sunday Times found out, they retracted it immediately. But the legend was already done. A man running a global drug empire from a quiet Dutch town on Britain's most prestigious wealth register, under a fake profession, in plain sight. Now, no empire runs itself. Brian Charrington, early partner, cartel connection, would die in Spain in July 2025, still facing charges, never free of Warren's shadow. Colin Smith, right-hand man, operational enforcer, Taffin Carter. Jersey-based. Central to Warren's later operations, Mohammed Liazid, key contact in the conspiracy that would eventually bring Warren down. These were the people inside the circle. But beyond it, an organization had been watching, tracking, mapping, growing alarmed, Interpol, and after reviewing his reach, his resources, his connections across multiple continents, his cartel relationships, his financial architecture, they made a designation. At the top of Interpol's most wanted list, running an empire worth hundreds of millions, with the full weight of international law enforcement, pointed directly at Warren. There's a moment in every story like this, where the weight of everything a man has built starts pulling in the opposite direction. For Curtis Warren. That moment came in 1996. Dutch police had been watching Sassenheim, quietly, patiently. And when they finally moved, what they found wasn't just evidence of a crime. It was evidence of an industry. 400 kilograms of cocaine, 1,500 kilograms of cannabis, 60 kilograms of heroin, 50 kilograms of ecstasy, weapons, cash, assets worth an estimated £125 million. 400 kilograms of cocaine is not a street dealer's stash. That is a warehouse, operating at a scale most agencies spend entire careers trying to dismantle. Sitting quietly in a small Dutch town, under a man recently listed as a property developer, Warren was arrested, charged, convicted. 12 years. For most people, 12 years in a foreign prison is a breaking point. The moment you accept it's over. Curtis Warren is not most people. 1999. 3 years into his sentence. Warren gets into a fight with a fellow inmate, a Turkish man named Cemal Guklu. What sparked it is disputed. What isn't is the outcome. Guklu died. Manslaughter conviction. 4 more years. The better part of 2 decades now. In a foreign maximum security prison. With everything on the outside crumbling. And yet, reports began to emerge. Investigated, documented, taken seriously at the highest levels, that Warren was still running his operation. From inside his cell, the organization hadn't collapsed. It had simply adapted. Through coded conversations, carefully managed communications, a network on the outside, still loyal. A Dutch court convicted him of running an international drugs cartel from behind bars. Warren appealed and won. And in June 2007, Curtis Warren walked out of prison, back into a world that had changed, but one where people still remembered exactly who he was. While Warren was locked away, British authorities had been building something of their own, a financial case, an argument that regardless of what courts had proven, Warren had accumulated criminal wealth on a scale the law demanded be addressed. 2013, a British court issued a proceeds of crime order, £198 million. one of the largest ever pursued against a criminal in British history. Warren wouldn't pay, and failure to pay added 10 years. His 2014 appeal failed, and Curtis Warren went back inside again. Here is something true crime always gets wrong about men like Curtis Warren. It assumes prison changes them. It doesn't. Warren walked out of the Dutch system in June 2007. By every rational measure, he should have been finished. Operation dismantled, assets seized, associates dead or compromised. And then, November 2007, Colin Smith, Warren's right-hand man, shot dead in Speke, Liverpool, a gangland execution. The inner circle was collapsing. The people who had surrounded Warren, protected him, executed his orders, were dying or disappearing. Any rational person would have walked away. But Warren had one more move. The Jersey cannabis conspiracy is the most revealing chapter of his entire story. Not because of its scale. A £1 million cannabis plot is almost modest against the £87 million cocaine operation of the 90s. But that's exactly what makes it so telling. This was a man who had dealt with the Cali Cartel, who made the Sunday Times rich list, who was Interpol's Target 1, post-prison, post-empire, post-everything, still plotting, still scheming, still unable to stop. The plan, cannabis into Jersey. Associates, Taffin Carter and Mohammed Lee Azid, and it might have worked. Except for one thing Warren, for all his genius, could not control. His phone calls were being bugged. Every conversation, every exchange he believed was private, was being recorded, handed to investigators who had been building their case when the evidence hit the courtroom. It was overwhelming. No informant to expose, no technicality to exploit, no way out. 2009, convicted, 13 years, and this time, the walls didn't just close in, they locked. 13 years for Jersey. £198 million still outstanding. Network dismantled. Right-hand man dead in a Liverpool street. The audacity that carried him from Toxteth to the top of Interpol's list, that made him taunt detectives in 1993, that kept his empire running from a prison cell, had finally, definitively run out of road. November 2022. A prison gate opens, and a man in his late 50s, grayer, quieter, carrying more than 2 decades across 2 prison systems, walks out. Curtis Warren. Free. Except that word requires qualification. The Serious Crime Prevention Order attached to his release is one of the most restrictive frameworks that can be applied to someone not behind bars. Finances monitored, travel restricted, communications logged, every phone, every account, every border crossing, declared, approved, recorded. A man living under permanent, legally enforced surveillance. He lasted less than a year. July 2023, arrested for breaches. Then, August 2024, 6 violations admitted in court, undeclared cash, unauthorized phone use. Travel to Alicante, Spain, but look at those violations through the lens of who Curtis Warren is, and a different picture emerges. Undeclared cash in Warren's hands is not an oversight. An unauthorized phone. In the possession of a man who ran an empire from a prison cell is not a small thing. And Spain, where he once held casinos, where Charrington died, where the remnants of his European network still have roots, is not an innocent holiday. 14-month suspended sentence, 18-month suspension, which means, as of early 2026, Warren is free. 1 violation away from going back inside, and then, February 2026. Something strange happened. A body in a Dubai hotel room. A Liverpool trafficker with Cali Cartel ties, Spencer Benjamin, connected to Warren's network, found dead. Within hours, social media decided it was Warren. Tributes came. It was finally over. But Warren wasn't dead, alive, in Britain, under supervision. Benjamin was just another name on a list that keeps getting longer. Thomas Wynne, dead in Dubai, 2015. Brian Charrington, dead in Spain. July 2025, still facing charges. Never free of Warren's shadow. Colin Smith, shot dead in
Liverpool, 2007. The people who stood closest to Curtis Warren, who knew the most, who were in the deepest, have an alarming habit of not growing old. And through all of it, Warren survives. Which brings us back to the question that never went away. The £198 million was supposed to be resolved, and never did. Where is the money? Nearly £200 million in confiscation orders, one of the strictest supervision orders in British law. And somewhere, possibly, the money is still out there, waiting. Do you think Curtis Warren still has access to hidden wealth? After the confiscation orders? After the Swiss accounts? After everything seized and everything that wasn't? Is the money still out there? Drop your theory in the comments, because this is one of those stories where the official version and the full truth have never quite lined up. If this gave you something to think about, subscribe. The full story of the Cali Cartel is coming. And
we're going deep into Liverpool's criminal underworld, the world that made Curtis Warren possible. He's still out there, still under supervision, still, in some sense, unfinished. And so is his story.